Anon's a villain again. Written by Yellowtail. Chapter 2. Bad Business, Part 2. I sit next to a very bruised and battered Bones, licking my thumb to go to the next page in the local newspaper. We're in a warehouse outfitted for a base. There are couches, like the ones Bones and I are sitting on. There is a barracks for the dog army. There's a phone line just in case we need it, and enough supplies to feed and water us for weeks. The best part? Couches were half off, and the phone is on this monthly plan that I scammed the phone company into giving us. Never before has Looney Tunes been so helpful. We're still within Griffin borders, but we don't really have much elsewhere to go. The Crystal Empire's put out wanted posters. Equestria is thinking of shutting down their borders, and Griffinstone is still a broke-ass shithole that can't do shit while we're here.
Sir, may I make a suggestion?
Bones asks.
Sure,
I mutter.
Could we try the Hippogrifian kingdoms?
He suggests.
Depends. Is it broke too?
I ask. He sighs.
No,
he says.
Is it in the sky where we can't reach it? I don't know,
Bones says. I put my paper down and pinch the bridge of my nose.
Then why the hell suggest it?
I ask angrily.
Sorry.
Bones winces a bit. Just... why aren't you healing up? I ask.
Go to bed, rest or something. Just because I kicked you down a mountain doesn't mean I want you to suffer.
I mutter.
It kinda does, really,
Bones says. Do you want to go down the mountain again? I ask out of annoyance. To that, Bones gets up quickly and starts wobbling off to his private quarters. I start to read the paper again, but a new annoyance pops up.
Hey, boss!
Frank yells, scaring the shit out of me.
Why can't you be like Bones, Frank?
He doesn't scare me every fucking 5 minutes, I yell.
Hell, be more like Wretch. He doesn't care enough to bother me with bad news or annoying shit.
I stop as I realize Frank's up. I look at a nearby clock to see it's almost midnight.
Frank, why are you up?
I ask. It's past your bedtime. There's a bedtime for a reason, numbskull. To answer this, Frank pulls out a book. I take it and look at it.
It's a kid's book, Frank.
I deadpan. He frowns and gives me a pleading look.
Oh god, that's almost the most horrifying thing I've ever seen.
Fine, just
please promise you'll go the fuck to sleep.
Frank gasps excitedly.
Yes, boss.
He replies before scampering off. I follow him to the barracks and find his bed on the other side of the room from everyone else's. Like, they took the time to push some of the beds away from his. I don't blame them, but that's still a bit much. I look at the book he gave me and realize it's a book full of childish nursery rhymes, kind of like back home. Home. Nursery rhymes. Something clicks as I gasp in realization.
That's it!
I cry out in joy, scaring Frank a bit. I throw the book at him and run out.
Read it yourself! I have a country to exploit!
Wretch, wearing a visor, types up a couple of more things in the calculator before messing with his abacus. I tap my foot, impatiently waiting for him to do the math. Finally, I groan in frustration as he adjusts it a couple of more times.
Do you really know how to use that?
I ask.
No, of course not. It's just fun to play with while I use the calculator.
He says. I facepalm.
Could you stop having fun for enough time to decide whether or not this plan of mine is worth it?
I ask.
My lord, why are you shouting?
Bones asks, wobbling on a crutch.
Bones, I'm just double-checking whether or not this next plan will be worth what we're thinking of doing.
I say, not turning away from Wretch.
Which is? Invading Zabrica, of course.
I say, smiling.
Sir, don't be mad, but they're not entirely wealthy, I know, but the resources they're sitting on,
I say, crossing my arms.
Plus, they're disbanded and disorganized. It'll be relatively cheap. Sir, we need to sell those resources to profit. Who in their right mind would buy from us? Bones asks. While we ruled Equestria, I got a good bit of dirt on a good number of companies,
I say, chuckling.
and no one wants anyone to know about the pudding accident.
The... what? Bones asks, slightly off, but...
Not important, just know that it's leverage.
I wave off.
And better yet, those pesky plonky ponies aren't going to be able to get involved. Zebrica as a continent has been given a sort of immunity from the outside politics of countries like Equestria or the Hippogrifian Republic.
But, sir, you're not a citizen of Zebrica. If you invade...
I turn to Bones and show a card. He takes and squints at it.
My lord, forgive my ignorance, but how in Tartarus did you get a full citizenship to Zebrica?
He asks. They're cut off from the outside forces, which includes news. Like, for instance, let's say some army of diamond dogs led by a devilishly handsome and smart guy were to invade the world.
I say. Bones looks at me with a bit of shock.
They don't know?
He asks. I chuckle. We're gonna play them like damn fiddles. I say, laughing a little. Hopefully this will end better than the Griffin invasion. 2 weeks later. Celestia sips on some tea as she looks over various reports. Anon's movements has gone mysteriously silent, and she prays to herself that means that he's finally stopped being a villain. The whole Griffinstone debacle has upset many national governments, concerned about how easily Anon has practically taken over 3 countries in less than half a year. Granted, he hasn't kept any of them for long, but only because he lets them go. Not to mention the utter failure of the main 6 had in capturing Anon. She had to cover up the scandal just to make sure Equestria wasn't a laughingstock. She sighs, rubbing her head with a huff. Yep, a vacation sure sounds nice. But even then, there's no guarantee that Anon can't ruin it unintentionally.
Princess!
A guard yells from down the royal hall. Great. Celestia puts on her best fake smile that she can muster.
Yes? What is it?
She asks politely. The guard finally stumbles into the room, panting as he hands her a scroll.
It's from Zebrica, he exclaims. They want to trade.
Oh, lovely.
Celestia says, genuinely happy. She just knew at least someone would start a trade.
No, it isn't, Your Highness,
the guard says, genuinely terrified. Celestia quirks an eyebrow and takes the scroll. She unrolls it and starts reading as the guard shakes in place. After a moment, Celestia puts down the scroll. She put her front hooves together, taking a deep breath in.
I'll be right back,
she says, trying her best to control herself. With a flash, she disappears. The new throne room I sit in is big, with a staircase leading to my throne, covered in velvet carpet. To my right sits Bones. To my left sits a zebra wearing glasses, typing on a calculator. The zebra wearing glasses sighs and frowns as he looks at me. I give him a brief smile as I turn to my throne on the maximum massage.
Yes?
I ask, knowing very well what's wrong.
Sir, you told us we aren't allowed to eat half of our food because we are on a strict budget.
He deadpans. I nod.
And
yet you just bought an expensive massage chair,
he says.
Since it's an export, it's much more expensive than the throne we could make.
Not when I put my gun to the dude's face,
I say cheerfully.
Although that lowered the price, I still think it's a bit insulting to the zebras who are working much harder than you seem to be.
There's a price tag for those who nag,
I say. The zebra groans in frustration.
And could you please stop taxing anything that rhymes?
He yells.
I could, but then I wouldn't know what to tax,
I say.
Besides, it's not like I'm gonna stay here for long. I'll leave here pretty soon for a bigger goal.
And what? Leave us to our own devices?
The zebra asks.
Yes,
I simply say.
My lord is very understanding,
Bones says.
Your boss is an ass,
the zebra says.
Yes, but I'm a smartass,
I reply.
By the way, what's your name again?
I've told you it's Zeal,
he says.
You say that, but I feel like your name is Zeb,
I say.
I hate tourists,
he mutters. Suddenly a flash of light blinds us as Celestia teleports in.
Hey, Sunbuds, how'd you find me? I ask absentmindedly as I melt into the comfort of my massage chair.
The big sign that says Sally is a big-ass bitch kind of gave it away,
Cecilia says sternly. I acknowledge. So, what's up?
Anon, this is the 4th time you've taken down a nation,
Cecilia says. Correction. This is the first time I've taken a continent, I say proudly. Besides, I don't hear any complaints.
That is because you threw away the complaint box once it was full,
Zeal says. Hey, that just means there's no more complaints anymore. It's not my fault you guys decided to join me. I say.
You threatened us with your armies and your power,
Zeal exclaims. I don't hear any complaints. I note.
You made us write our complaints and put them in a stupid box,
Zeal yells.
the same one you threw away.
Yeah, and I haven't heard any complaints. I say. Zeal plants his face on the desk and muffles a scream of mental agony.
Anon, focus,
Cecilia says.
I plan to stop you from illegally invading Zebrica.
I'm not invading. I say. I pull out an ID card. She takes and looks at it.
You've gotta be fucking kidding me,
She says incredulously. I'm a legal citizen, so thus what I did is a civil war. I note. Thus outside countries can't interfere. Not that they could anyway, since Zebrica is classified as immune from outside the world. Although they could certainly ask for help, they would all need something to give in return. Long story short, they were too divided and too secluded.
Anon, why are you doing any of this? Please, just for once, be straight with me.
Cecilia says.
Because I cannot fathom a single reason why you would want to take over any country to begin with when you already have the funds to live peacefully, since that was your original goal.
Because when I take over Equestria again, I drop my smile and my cheery attitude, glaring daggers into Celestia. I'm not going to let go. Since you could not stand living with me, I'm going to force you to. Celestia and Bones blanch for my sudden change in demeanor. I had said I was done, and that I'd follow the rules, but no, you had to take it all, despite the fact that I gave back what I stole. Electricity starts sparking around me, making everyone scoot away a bit. They say harmony is like a tree. This time, I won't stop at taking over Equestria. I will tear it apart, branch by branch. And if you keep resisting, I will tear out the fucking roots. Celestia steels herself and fixes her composure.
I won't let you,
She says, glaring right back at me, undisturbed by the wild energy around us. I feel an eye twitch and bark a laugh. Sun Tzu once said, if you know your enemy as well as yourself, you need not worry about 100 battles. I remarked. I've seen the insides of your system, Celestia. This went from a game of checkers to a game of chess. I know exactly what your pieces do. Can you say the same? Celestia keeps her glare, unfazed by my threats.
We will be prepared,
She says simply. Slowly, the electricity around me dies and I smirk. No, you won't, I say. Just then, a diamond dog runs into a room.
My lord, the big fuck is ready.
He reports. Celestia does a double take and look at the guard.
The what?
She asks. Splendid! We're moving out, I say, clapping my hands together. Zeal blinks and suddenly realizes I'm picking up. I place him on my throne and give him a small smile. Enjoy your new position. With that, Zeal looks on with confusion as Bones gets up from his chair and follows me out the throne with my other guard.
Wait, Anon, what are you planning?
Celestia yells. I stop. It's none of y'all's damn business. I turn and look at her with a smirk. However, this is a game of chess now, so I believe you should know that you have the first move. With that, we walk out, leaving Celestia and Zeal in the throne room. Celestia stares after me after growling to herself.
He certainly has some nerve,
She says.
Wait, did he just give the country to me?
Zeal yells. Celestia turns to him.
I think so,
She says. Zeal looks at her in shock before looking around.
We're free.
He mutters. He suddenly leans back in the chair, sagging his entire body.
He actually let us go. Since you are the new ruler, I have a request,
Cecilia says.
Anon has taken over your country, your villages, and don't doubt that he has done horrible things to your subjects. So would you consider joining forces to stop him from taking over my own country?
Zio immediately tensed up. Buck, no, he says without hesitation. Cecilia blinks.
No.
She repeats.
N-O. No. Nope. Nuh-uh. Buck that. We didn't want to be a part of this to begin with,
Zio says.
And if that sociopathic mess of a creature has taught me anything, is that he always gets what he wants. So no, we're staying as far away from your mess as possible,
Zio says. Cecilia grimaces.
And what if he takes over your country again if he fails against me?
She asks.
He won't,
Zio says.
He tried to take on the Minotaurs or the Hippogriffs. And why are you so certain of that?
Cecilia asks.
He taught us exactly what he'd do. No matter how moral or awful it was, he always keeps his word,
Zio says.
The first thing I'm going to do is to try to limit interactions with anyone outside as much as bucking possible. I'm sorry, but buck this. He's your problem now.
Cecilia sighs.
Is there nothing I can do to convince you?
She asks.
Buck no. Get out,
Zio says. Cecilia sighs, nodding. With that, she teleports out. Now to prepare for the invasion. Man, I had no idea what type of voice to give Zio. Originally, his voice... This goes through like several processes before I finally decide on one. Originally, his voice was actually deep. Originally, I was going to go with, but of course not. But then I realized that was far too close to, like, Bones. So I decided to go with a more nasally, higher-pitched male voice, and I hope it wasn't too bad. I had no clue what to do with his voice. I just kind of threw something together last minute, basically. However, what's not being thrown together last minute are thanking my wonderful Patreons. Thank you, Chase Lemaster, Jason, Squall, Windfeather, 8th Day of Night, Starlight Blaze, Hyperlane, 9Game, Rainflicker, Redeemer of Dark, and Dreamless Portal. My tier 2s Captain Blueshadow, The Animated Ghost, HKH 4AK Texture, Swordbrother and Mordred, Danish Dash, Nocturne, DJMX 2000, Papa Lennon, and Can Panzer. My Titan tiers Dark Guardian, Maverick, and Silent Titan. I appreciate you guys' support so much and it means a ton to me. That aside, however, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.